Many people ask God for prosperity. They pray harder, fast longer, repeat affirmations, visualize a dream life, and still feel like nothing is moving. And at some point, they start wondering if their faith is too small, if they're doing it wrong, if God is silent. But often the issue isn't the intensity of your faith, it's the environment you keep feeding your mind. God may be ready to bless your life, but you keep surrounding yourself with people who drain your energy, dilute your courage, and slowly pull you off purpose. Your human atmosphere shapes your internal atmosphere, and your internal atmosphere shapes your actions, your consistency, and what you ultimately become. Napoleon Hill was blunt about this. Your human environment can determine your success or failure, not as superstition, practically. Your mind is shaped every day by what you repeatedly hear, what you repeatedly absorb, what you repeatedly accept as normal. If you say you want abundance, but you live inside conversations filled with fear, scarcity, cynicism, and constant defeat, your subconscious will start treating that as reality. Joseph Murphy taught that the subconscious doesn't filter life the way your conscious mind tries to. It absorbs the emotional tone, the repetition, the vibration, without argument. If you walk through negativity long enough, your mind starts recording it as a pattern, and patterns become beliefs. Beliefs become choices. Choices become results. Scripture puts it in a simple sentence that cuts through the noise. You will know them by their fruits. You don't harvest grapes from thorn bushes. You don't pick figs from thistles. In the same way, you can't keep planting yourself in environments that produce spiritual dryness and then act surprised when your life feels heavy. Prosperity is not only a prayer request, it's also an obedience decision. It's obedience to faith, obedience to purpose, and obedience to wisdom about who gets access to your mind and heart. Some people watching this right now feel a constant weight they can't explain. They pray, they try, they study, they want to believe, but it's like something keeps pulling them down. The hidden leak is often the company you keep. Spending your days around people who live in complaint, criticism, and murmuring doesn't just affect your mood, it affects your spirit. Scripture warns that bad company corrupts good character, and that isn't just moral advice, it's spiritual physics. The people you stay close to can shape your mindset, your habits, your confidence, and even your faith. Hill said mental energy is contagious. If you're immersed in people who only speak problems, that frequency begins to infiltrate you. You start feeling tired for no clear reason. You start hesitating more. You start lowering your expectations, not because you decided to, because you absorbed it. And Murphy's point makes this even sharper. The subconscious doesn't care if someone says it as a joke, just being realistic, or it's not that serious. If you hear the same messages again and again, nothing works, life is hard, nobody makes it, this country kills dreams, your subconscious takes those phrases as instructions. Over time, your life begins reflecting those commands because the subconscious works like a faithful servant. It builds what it is repeatedly told to build. Think of your mind like a sponge. It can start the day clean, full of prayer, hope, and clarity. But if you drop it into dirty water for hours, it will absorb the dirt. Many people don't have the luxury of choosing perfect environments. They're around negativity at work. They hear fear at home. They sit in social circles where every conversation is crisis, disaster, complaint, and gossip. After a while, it feels like you're fighting alone, rowing against a tide of pessimism, trying to keep your faith alive while everything around you keeps trying to put it out. If that's you, hear this clearly. You're not crazy and you're not weak. You're just receiving too many inputs that oppose your vision. Hill compared the mind to a transmitter and receiver. You broadcast your thoughts, but you also pick up the frequencies around you. If you stay tuned to low-frequency voices long enough, your own signal gets distorted. That's why some people feel fired up after a word of faith and then lose it within hours. The word didn't fail, the environment neutralized it. So here's a practical shift you can start today without making dramatic announcements or burning bridges overnight. Reduce exposure to voices that only amplify problems and increase proximity to voices that speak solutions, faith, and forward movement. This doesn't always mean cutting people off. It means choosing more consciously how you spend your time and energy. For 1 week, observe your conversations. How many were focused on complaints and how many were focused on solutions? After you speak with someone, ask yourself one honest question. Do I feel stronger or weaker? More hopeful or more anxious? More courageous or more hesitant? That question alone can reveal who is nourishing your spirit and who is quietly draining it. When someone starts spiraling into negativity, try redirecting the conversation. If that's not possible, shorten the exposure. Protecting your inner world is not cruelty, it's stewardship.
And then there are the more dangerous voices. Not the loud negative ones, but the subtle sabotagers. The people who don't openly attack your dreams, but drip doubt into your mind disguised as concern. They don't say you will fail. They say, "Are you sure this is a good idea? What if you're risking too much? I just don't want to see you disappointed." It sounds loving, it sounds wise, but it functions like slow poison when repeated. Because again, the subconscious doesn't separate concern from command. If fear gets repeated with enough emotion or frequency, it becomes an invisible belief, and invisible beliefs create visible limits. The trap is that subtle sabotagers are often close to you. Friends, relatives, coworkers, people who genuinely think they're protecting you, but protection rooted in fear becomes a cage. They're like termites. They don't knock the house down in a day, they weaken the structure quietly from inside. Everything looks fine on the outside, and then one day you realize you've stopped dreaming out loud. You've started shrinking your plans. You've become cautious in the name of wisdom, when what actually happened is that you inhaled someone else's fear. So how do you identify these voices without becoming bitter or paranoid? Start with impact. After you talk to this person, do you feel more capable or more doubtful? More energized or more heavy? Then listen to patterns. People who strengthen you tend to speak faith, possibility, and courage. They may challenge you, but they don't collapse your spirit. Subtle sabotagers may smile while they speak limitation. They may wrap it in love, but the fruit is still fear. Here's a powerful exercise. Write down the discouraging phrases you hear most often, especially the ones that show up repeatedly. Then rewrite them into faith-based replacements you choose to install in your mind. If you keep hearing, "You can't do that," replace it with God, I am capable of more than I can see right now." If you keep hearing, "That's too risky," replace it with, I walk with wisdom, courage, and guidance. If you keep hearing, "It's too late," replace it with, every day is a new beginning, and my time is now. This is not just symbolic, this is mental reprogramming. You are uprooting seeds of fear and planting seeds of faith. And like any garden, what you water grows. Also understand this. Distancing yourself from subtle sabotage is not ingratitude. You can love people deeply without letting their fear define your boundaries. You can honor them without handing them the steering wheel of your future. Imagine your faith like a flame. When someone blows doubt toward it, you lift a shield of awareness and decide, those words don't belong to me. You don't fight, you don't argue. You don't need a dramatic confrontation. You simply refuse to absorb what weakens you. A simple anchor statement can help. I do not accept words of fear. I receive only words of faith. Repeating that trains your subconscious to reject the wrong inputs automatically. And here's a truth that's hard but liberating. Sometimes even good people can block your prosperity, not because they hate you, but because they can't imagine a life bigger than the one they settled for. Hill pointed out that people often doubt others because they doubt themselves. Their limitations speak through their advice. Their fear disguises itself as realism. That doesn't make them evil, it makes them human. But it also means you must have discernment. Before you accept a warning, ask yourself, did this come from faith or from fear? That single question can save years of your life. You don't have to cut ties to grow, but you do have to expand your atmosphere. A fish grows only to the size of its tank. If you stay surrounded by small tanks, small expectations, small faith, small thinking, your growth will unconsciously shrink to match the container. God doesn't call you to disrespect your roots. He calls you to outgrow limits that were never meant to be permanent. There's a reason Scripture shows people stepping out of familiar environments into new territory to access a new season. Sometimes the call to prosper isn't just internal, it's relational, it's environmental, it's alignment. Because the journey doesn't end with moving away from what drains you, it continues with moving toward what strengthens you. Prosperity doesn't flourish in isolation. You need people who sharpen you, not soften you. The Bible paints it clearly. Iron sharpens iron. You need voices that challenge you upward, correct you with love, remind you of your calling, and speak life into your vision. Hill called this the mastermind principle. When minds unite in harmony around a shared purpose, something larger than the individuals is created, a multiplying force. That's why so many people break through only after they find the right circle, a mentor community, a faith group, a study circle, a network of builders. Not because they suddenly became more talented, but because they finally entered an environment where growth was normal. So choose it intentionally. Build a small circle of prosperity, people who carry faith, courage, and purpose. It doesn't have to be big. Start with 2 or 3. People who don't just discuss problems, but pray, learn, plan, and act. People who speak solutions. People who respect discipline. People who don't mock your vision. Meet weekly, even briefly. Share goals, share wins, hold each other accountable. And if you don't have that circle yet, become the standard. Move with clarity and commitment, and the right people will either rise to meet you or fall away naturally. Here's what all of this means in one sentence. Prosperity is not only about what you ask from God, it's also about what you obey. Obey the wisdom to protect your mind. Obey the discernment to stop feeding your spirit with fear. Obey the call to walk with people who strengthen your faith and expand your vision. You already carry a seed of abundance, but every seed needs the right soil. If the soil is doubt, the seed struggles. If the soil is faith, it flourishes. Your environment matters more than most people want to admit, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and even physically. So let this be your guiding decision. I will walk with those who strengthen my faith, sharpen my purpose, and breathe life into my vision. I will honor people without absorbing their fear. I will protect my spirit, guard my mind, and choose my circle with wisdom. And as you do, you'll notice something begin to shift. Not because you manifested harder, but because you finally stopped planting yourself in a place that kills growth. If this message brought clarity, share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe for more teachings that connect faith, mindset, and action. And remember, you're not meant to fight alone. Choose the voices that water the seed God placed inside you until it grows into the life you were called to live.